now that you have calculated your base rate, your base price for per hour of FaceTime with you or per hour of working time. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more detail in this and how it relates to your menu of services. So again, we're going back to that poster party that you did in the intro. What are your favorite parts of teaching, and are your services based on those parts? And this kind of goes into another mistake that I find a lot of teachers make is they create their menu of services based on what they think other people are going to want from them. They think, okay, what can I do that's marketable? And then they kind of create their services from there. And that's okay as long as the things you're creating also line up with your favorite parts of teaching, because those are the things you're going to be best at. You might be amazing at editing college essays, but you might also hate editing college essays. So if that's the case, yes, you could probably get some clients for it, but it's not going to be the most enjoyable experience for you, and therefore it's not going to be the most enjoyable experience for them. So I would encourage you to leave that for the people who do love doing college essays, because that's going to be a much more rewarding exchange for both the students and for you. So really, think as you are creating your menu of services, it is really important that they are also aligned with the parts of teaching that you love. Because as you know, being in the classroom, the energy in the classroom, that energy exchange between teacher and student, when it's good, it's great. And that is what is going to give you your longevity with your students. That's what's going to give the power behind the word of mouth marketing, because it's going to be this really positive, joyful, energetic exchange between you, and they are going to turn into your biggest fans. They are going to tell people about how much they enjoyed working with you on those things, and your enjoyment of those same products and services is what's going to give you the energy to show up for those students in your fullest and best way. Otherwise, if it's something that you end up dreading, you're going to put it off, and it's going to deplete your energy. And a lot of teachers I've worked with are already living in a very depleting type of experience with their work. And if you're creating a business, why not create it something that's joy-filled and not depleting? But as humans, we're much more likely to recreate what we already know. We're much more likely to create that which we're trying to escape, unless we're being really mindful about what it is that we're trying to create. So that's why I wanted you to start with this whole process by going back to the things that you love most about teaching and what makes you a great teacher. And then that's what you're going to use to inform your menu of services. So here's a couple of things. Again, this is a holdover from when I taught this live. But I would love for you to share this with me via email. Go through the whole video series and then send me an email at the end with answers to these questions. I would absolutely love that. So here's an idea of some things that you could put on your menu of services and that teachers I've worked with have put on their menu of services. One-on-one teaching, small group teaching, workshops. For me, a workshop is something that would be done over a couple hour period, maybe over a weekend or in a 10-day span or something like that would be considered a workshop. But I have also worked with teachers who have done assessments and screenings. I have worked with reading specialists and dyslexia specialists who are able to do that type of thing. Special education teachers some of them have been wonderful as far as advocacy and consulting, even for myself, as I have had to navigate those spaces with my own children. I've been really grateful for where that knowledge and experience that they have been able to share with me. So some of the teachers I've worked with have real passion for that. Some have true passions for parent education. So there's a lot of different places where you can take these. When you look at the things you love most about teaching and you look at your teaching superpowers, and notice I haven't even asked you what your specialty area is. Because if you are an amazing teacher, you can teach a lot of things, whether you necessarily got certified in that area or not. So just another thing to think of. I mean, you might be trained as a high school social studies teacher, but if you have a passion for civics and you don't get to currently teach that, that's something that you could teach. I've had one who wanted to do just like an intro to citizenship, to gaining your citizenship and helping to walk people through the steps of how to get their citizenship, or an intro to your Bill of Rights. I think she was going to call it Citizenship 101, just like, what are your rights and where does your personal freedom end? These are conversations she's had with her students that she doesn't have time in her curriculum to actually teach in the classroom, that her students were really into and really wanted to know about, but there wasn't any space in the traditional classroom to teach those things. So think outside your box a little bit. What are some of those things that you know students you've worked with would absolutely love to learn about, but there's no space for them in the system that you're already working in? So there's just some kind of ideas for you when it comes to creating your menu of services. I'm going to kind of break down these a little bit based on my base rate price. So here's some of the math and that formula that I mentioned I was going to give you as to how I figure out my monthly rates. So here's how we're looking at that. We've got the base rate times the student facing time plus the prep time equals your weekly rate. So we have the weekly rate times 4, and then that would be your monthly rate. So for example, if we are here at the base rate of $75 an hour, which is what I chose for myself because I just have one master's degree at the moment, and then I will see that student for 1 hour a week, the prep time for me at this point, I've been teaching long enough that it only takes me about 15 minutes to prep for a student that I'm already established with. And 15 minutes is sometimes kind of generous. Some of this I've been teaching for well over a decade now, 6 different levels of my content area, and I'm very good at it. So it doesn't take me very long to prep it. I've worked with over 1,000 students, and it doesn't take me that long anymore. So really, it ends up only coming out to being $301 a month. I'm a French teacher, and I like to keep the numbers nice and easy and round. So I charge $300 a month for a student that I see once a month for 1 hour a month. Small group, you could do that, but I tend to charge a little bit less for small group than I do for one-on-one. One-on-one kind of has that premium feel to it. Sorry, I'm adjusting because the lighting is changing where I'm recording. So you can get away with charging a little bit more for that. And if it's only for two students, it feels $150 an hour. Feels a little bit much for me in my area with the students that I'm working with. But you can still make quite a bit of money. So what I have done is take that monthly rate and I divide it by the number of students that I'm working with. So I have my base rate. My student facing time is still 1 hour, but there's more students in that group. So let's say this is a group of 4 students. So my prep time per student was 15 minutes per student. Well, now I've got 4 students. So now I'm looking at another hour of prep time, meaning my weekly rate is now $150. So instead of charging each one $75, which would be $300 a week for 4 students in the same one time slot, it's really only taking 2 hours of my time to see those 4 students and to attend to those 4 students. So I'm going to take that $150 weekly rate for my time, right? And so it's not per student, it's by my time. It takes me 2 hours for those 4 students. So my time would be $150 if I'm looking at my time being worth $75 an hour. I'm going to multiply it times the 4 weeks. And that comes to $600 a month for my time and expertise, my labor. And then I divide that up among the number of students. So when I'm looking at small groups, I'm looking at my investment of my time and then what that is, and then dividing that up by the number of students. So instead of being $300 a month, they get a 50% discount for being in a small group of 4. And then that leaves up my time slots for other students. So now I'm bringing in even more money for my tops. So here, workshops are another way that you can calculate your time. Again, it's all based on that base rate. So whatever you have come up with for your level of education, your geographical area, and what you feel comfortable with for your base rate. Again, you're going to multiply that times your student-facing time, and then also your prep time times the number of students. So if it was 15 minutes times 4 students, then that would be another hour, and then that would be your weekly rate. Then you also need to calculate in any cost of materials, because a lot of times workshops will include the cost of materials. Now, this would not necessarily be your prep time, but if you wanted to make them a workbook that would go along with your workshop and you needed to use Canva for that, then I would include the cost of your Canva subscription, at least for that month, in that pricing. And then again, you're going to divide by the number of, once you have that total amount, that total investment of your time, that total investment of your materials, then you would divide that by the number of students. And then a very similar for consulting and assessments. You're looking at both the client-facing time, the prep time, and then I've also had teachers who would write a report afterwards or give a post-evaluation meeting, explanation meeting. You're going to build all of that time in. So that client-facing time could be before, during, and after, plus any prep time or any time that it would be for you to write up any reports. You're going to include all of that into whatever rate you're going to charge for that particular service or product. So are you starting to get a feeling of how the value of your time and your expertise is calculated? Because we know that not all teachers are created equal, and not all teachers are best suited to teach all learners. So while there's a great variation between students, there's also a great variation between teachers. And one of the things that's really beautiful about private practice teaching is that we have the opportunity to pick each other. Parents and caregivers and students, adult students too, have the opportunity to choose the teachers that are best suited for them. And we have the opportunity to agree to work with the students that we are best suited to work with. And depending on who you talk to, the value of that is really quite significant. If you're a parent and you've had a child who's struggling with something and they finally get a great teacher who has been able to show them that actually know they are good at math, then you know that that's worth its weight in gold. So that is the end of this particular video of how to calculate your pricing for different services using your base rate. And I will see you in the next video.